Invader Zim here with a tutorial on starting and taking off in the BR20. So let's get started with getting this bird into the air. Look at your instrument controls down here, your throttle controls, rad, water, etc. You're going to be paying a lot of attention to that to get this bird started. Instruments, ATA right here. You got your RPM right here. Down here on the bottom, you got your oil temps. You're going to have to pay a lot of attention to your oil temps. They say they like it between 60 and 90 for flight or prior to the flight, but I get away with 30 on takeoff, about 30C, 35C right in there. And then you'll be at 60 to 90 when you're in the air. Boost cutout, there's your boost cutout right there, so you move your boost cutout so you can get that extra RPM on takeoff. There that is, that's how you do that. If you got it keyed, go for that. I key all of my throttle and all of that. I don't try and fly it with point and click. One of the things that I want you to take a look at here is just like on a lot of the German airplanes, your ATA has a setting to tell you when you're at the right ATA setting. See where it says normal or normale right there? Well, there you go. That's where you're going to set it. That's controlled by the throttle. Okay, so we'll take off about 2200 RPM, and then you'll drop back to 2100 RPM for normal flight. So you'll be using prop pitch to get your RPM back and throttle to get your ATA right, and that's a balancing trick, and we'll take care of that once we get up. There's your altitude right there. There's your airspeed indicator right there. Altitude and airspeed. Throttle quadrant. So let's start getting our oil rads open to about 50% for takeoff and water to about 50% for takeoff. So there you go. Engine 2. Let's get over to engine 1. Somewhere is about 50% or so. Alright, that looks good. Yeah, a little more. There we go. Same here. Alright, you can see over there where your engine control command box is. You want to have that up. I've selected engine 1. I'm going to start engine 1. No fuel stuff for this. That's a good thing. Shortens things up. Alright, so now I'm going to select engine 2. Go to engine 2. Let's get engine 2 started. There it goes. And you see that in the command box over there. Engine 2 started. I like it. Looks like my buddy over there likes it. So we're pretty much good to go with that. We're all start. One of the other things I found out that you can get away with is, remember I said be up around 30C? Well, we're not going to be up around there right now. But we can taxi to the apron to help these engines warm up, and it's not going to hurt them. So that's what I'm going to do right now, and by the time I get to the apron, those temperatures will be good enough for a takeoff. It should be up around 30C by the time we get to the apron and get all set up for the takeoff. You'll find that you need to use a lot of throttle. For this whole takeoff thing, we're at 100% prop pitch, and we're using throttle to get over here. Again, you'll need a lot of throttle for rudder control, but don't get going so fast that you lose control of the airplane. Alright, this thing flies like a box of concrete, so kind of get used to that. The terms that have been used to describe it are sluggish, and it is exactly that. It's a very sluggish airplane, so don't expect real responsive controls from this. Alright, let's get ourselves lined up on the runway. Line it up just a bit there. We're going to do a static takeoff with this airplane like you do most of the German bombers. Okay, so we're going to go chocks in. You can see I got my chocks in over there. And then I'm going to do some last minute adjustments to make sure that the oil and water rads are about 50%. I can see that they're not. See my oil temps, they're pretty good. They're good enough for takeoff here, about around 30, 32C, something like that, 35C. That's good. That'll get you off the ground with no damage. Alright, so I see I got to do a little bit of adjustment here. We want to get them at 50%. So I'll make those last minute fine adjustments. 50-50 water and oil on the radiators. Alright, there we go. Yep, alright. And I'll do the same thing over there on the other side. Alright, remember, watch our airspeed right here. You want to take off right around 130 is what's listed for takeoff speed. I push it up to about 140, 150. Make sure your fuel loadout is only down around 30, 35, 40%, or you're not gonna be able to get this thing off the ground, or it's gonna be a fight. So again, watch your fuel loadout, and you'll see it go red in your menu when you're too heavy. If you're too heavy, it's going to be a real fight to get it off the ground if you get it off the ground at all. All right, I'm going to check those engine temperatures, and I'm spooling up right now, spooling my engines up, running them up all the way. 100% prop pitch, 100% throttle. Got my boost cutout on, so I've got plenty of power going here. Pop the chocks. And to use a little bit of rudder to get her centered on runway. Alright, I'll try and get my cursor over the airspeed indicator so you can see the airspeed just before we come up. There it is, I'm at 100. KMH, so I'm looking for 120, 130. I could go up right here, but I like it just a bit faster. There's 140. You can see I'm starting to come up, and about 150. I'm good with that. There we go. We're up. So I want to get my gear up now. And the carriage up. There it is. All right. One of the things that you'll notice that I haven't done was touch that compass, because I'm going to show you a different way to get on course with your compass. But I need right now, before I do any of that, to get my RPM and my ATA balanced out. Remember I told you can come off at 2200. Now you've got to drop it back to 2100 for flight. So I use my throttle to throttle back to get it back down to normal, and my prop pitch to bring my RPM down, okay? So here I am going to be adjusting prop pitch right here. There it is, prop pitch. And then of course I'll go back up there and check my RPM to see where my RPM is. And see, I've used my throttle to get myself back down into the normal range here on ATA. So I'm good for normal flight here now. So check these, a little low right there. So I'll use my prop pitch to bring myself back up just a bit. 2100, somewhere around there. It ain't got to be exactly 2100. Yeah, 2130 looks good. That then, whatever. Alright, so there we are. Okay, good. Now, remember that thing I was talking about with the compass here? This thing will fly just like the Blenheim as far as compass goes. All I got to do is bring myself to course and then set my directional gyro to 0, and I'm on course. It's really that simple. I like to keep it simple. The book says other stuff, but just bring yourself onto course, set the directional gyro to 0, and then engage your course autopilot at even mode 22 for your final bomb run. And that's the easiest way. I fly course autopilot just for my climb out and formation flying. That gives me elevator up and down, but no aileron left and right. And that's good enough to keep a formation. I adjust the aileron left and right with the directional gyro if I need to come to that. Right now I'm just trying to get enough altitude so I can go into mode 22 so you can see all this happen. So right here I'm turning off speed for altitude right now until I get up to, I don't know, somewhere around 1 kilometer. Checking ATA, RPM, everything looks good. No problems out there. Alright. 180. And that looks pretty good. Alright, let's watch over here. I'm going to use my directional gyro to set myself to 0. You see I got a little bit of drift here, so I'll have a little bit of drift when I finally come into course mode. But here I am. I'm setting directional gyro to 0 on this course, so it's going to fly this course. Set directional gyro to 0. Takes me a second to get there. Don't go past 0, but get it to 0. There you go. There's 0. So it should fly this course now when I gauge course autopilot. So I'm going to do that next, and you'll see a little bit of drift, but not much because I was drifting around because I was talking and stuff. So there you go. So here it is. It's engaged, and you'll see a wee bit of drift, not much, as it picks up that course right there. So there we go. Not a problem. Once she's leveled out and she's basically flying that course under course autopilot, I'll go mode 22 now. And as you can see, it picked up and stabilized enough that I'm in mode 22 and I'm hot, straight, and true. And I can fly this forever. I'll check my RPMs to make sure my RPMs don't sneak up on me. Make those last minute checks. Let's check our temperatures, and you can see, just as I told you, those temperatures are right about where they need to be. And so we're good to fly this way all the way into target, which is what we're going to talk about next. We're going to be talking about different bomb weights and altitudes and what speed corrections to use with different bomb weights and altitudes, and where your aiming point should be. So that's it. That's getting this thing into the air and getting it set on course. There's really not a lot to it. Try not to overcomplicate it. It's really not that complicated. Before we go to bombing, there's one other thing that I forgot to talk about. We need to talk about the gunner positions and how to get the gunner positions operating properly. So we're going to go over that. That's a matter of hopping into the gunner's position, and when you're in the gunner's position, you're going to use mine is Shift F1, which activates the gunner's position. So you're going to have to do that for both the ventral gunner and the turret gunner in this particular airplane. You need that Shift F1 in addition to lead to gun sight and fire. So I'm going to go over that just a little bit with you so you can see that happen, because that really needs to happen once we get on course with this airplane and get flying, because once these guys dive on us, when we get close to target, you're going to want that ventral gunner firing, and you're going to want that turret gunner firing. So let's hop back into the ventral gunner here. Remember, I said for me, it's Shift F1. I don't know how you have yours keyed, but you need to get back here into this turret and make that happen. And here you can see I went to Shift F1, and there I am. And then I could use lean to gun sight to get into the gun sight, but now this is all operational. You can see that happening. So there you go, right there. I got that. Gun's working perfectly fine. All right. Up, down, left, right, all that. Right, so now you can leave it here in the open position. This does create a little bit of drag, so be aware of that. This isn't a real fast plane anyway, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. Let's go up to the top turret, because it is also, there's a front view from the front gunner's spot. You're going to see that once you're going to use that position to get on target, actually, because you can't see from the bombardier position. Here we go. The same thing. You're going to have to use your Shift F1, which hydraulically raises this thing. Without that Shift F1, the ventral won't open, and this thing won't hydraulically raise the way that you see it happening. And then once you get here, I don't know how you have your controls set up right now. I got mine set up with the mouse. It's not all that great, but there's a lot of talk about that in our threads on ATAG. You can take a look at that talk. But you can see with the mouse, things will be a little bit smoother here. Once I get the mouse working, there you go. I use F10 to go to my mouse once I'm on here. There we go. There's F10 with mouse. So that's going to work for me there. So there that is. All right, so you did need to see that whole F1 with move into firing position and lean to gun sight thing. So that's kind of critical to be operating turrets manually if you're going to operate turrets manually with this thing. So make sure you have that keyed in. Just wanted to make sure that you had that before we move on to bombing. All right, so with that covered, let's move on to the bombing part. Okay, bombing. We're going to do high altitude at 2,000 with 850 kg bombs. So these bombs will always be, whether high or low altitude, the same. It is minus 20 or minus 30 on your airspeed for these bombs, either high or low. Remember, you have to look out this front turret here to line up on your target because you can't see from the bomber's position because the view is obscured. So there we go. We're getting our lineup on our target. Alright, so now I'm going to go minus 30. You can see me making corrections over on the left in blue over there. Okay. So whatever my airspeed is, I'm going minus 30. If you look at those charts that you were given, it actually is minus 30. The wiki says minus 20, but it's more like minus 30, so that's where I set mine. Alright, because we're at the same elevation, or excuse me, because we're sea level elevation, I'm not going to change my altitude, but you can see me over on the left making my minus 30. Bomb bay doors open, bombs armed, setting my elevation. There I am with elevation. For this high altitude, you don't need to use the fusing. You can use the high elevation fusing. I have my fusing in quotes sets my low level fuse or my high level fuse. You can set yours. You might need it for your low level bomb runs. That's 1K or below. Alright, here we are coming into target. You'll notice the little black bead in the circle there. That's our aiming point. I normally put my little black bead onto the target, and then just as that black bead's coming out of the target is when I drop my bombs, and that's what I recommend you do. And that'll drag the bombs through the target. And you'll see that coming up here, some minor course corrections right here. And I got my black bead, and right about there is my bombing point. Bombs out. Let's see if that happens. Yep, bombs are all away. And there's our target. So I'm at minus 30 on this particular bomb load. And the 100 kgs are also minus 20, minus 30. Yeah, there you go. So 50 kg, 100 kg, minus 20 or minus 30 on your bomb load. Alright? That's in airspeed. Alright? That's what we're talking about. 800 kgs from 2K, they are plus 10 on your airspeed. Okay? So different bomb loadouts, different airspeed corrections. So here, bomb bay doors open, bombs armed. So I'm plus 10 with this 800 kg bomb. So whatever my indicated airspeed is plus 10. You can see all that happening over there as a sea level target, so I'm making no adjustment for my altitude. Just setting it to altitude. You can see all that happening. And again, I told you about the bead and where to drop and where the bead is. Any last minute course corrections can be made with the course auto setter. Or excuse me, gyro setter. And there we go. We're coming to target. It looks okay. Alright. So once again, that bead's just out of the target. And bombs it away. And let's see how that worked out for us. Too bad, I'll betcha. There's a little stutter on this target when these oil fields go. And there it is. Yeah, they're right on target. Alright, so that was plus 10 on those 800 kg. It doesn't matter the altitude. It's always plus 10 on the 800 kg, minus 20 or minus 30 on the lighter bombs, regardless of altitude. Alright, next 800 kg at 1K, and this is just a demonstration of that. Same thing here. I'm going to get my airspeed. I'm going to go plus 10 on my airspeed. No correction for elevation because this is a sea level target. You'll see all that happening over there on the left. I always line up through the front gunner position. There it is. There's our elevation being entered. Remember, you're always bombs armed, bomb bay doors open. Team Fusion made a patch to the BR20 where you used to have to hold the bomb bay door for 15 seconds. I notice I no longer have to do that whenever I touch my bomb bay doors. It opens up and stays opened up just one touch. So there's my corrections for my airspeed coming in. And we're lining up on the target again. But I would test that if I were you as far as your bomb bay doors go. Make sure that they're coming open with a one touch and not having to do a 15-second hold. The JU-88 still has a 15-second hold. Alright. Making any course corrections with the gyro, directional gyro again. Alright, our final checks coming into target for altitude and airspeed. Remember, plus 10 for this 800 kg bomb. The altitude should be the same. Alright. And remember our aiming point. Make any last minute corrections with directional gyro. This target looks really good. You can again use the vertical wire. It looks really good coming in the vertical wire this time. Same target every time just so you can get the idea. Correction here. And bombs away right there. Alright, let's see how that works out. Look like the bombs were all out. Yeah, bomb's gone. And did we do this right? I bet we did. Yeah, look at that. Okay, so there you go. Now you got it. So now you've got everything you need to know about the BR20 from taking off to bombs out. Good luck with this thing.